All right, you guys. So, welcome, our Central Valley Realty KWT meeting. Our host is Barbara, and she's got a couple different guests that she's going to share with us. I do have a couple housekeeping things I wanted to share with you. Who saw the post about the masterminds? Anybody? 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 I can't hear you. I saw it, Veronica. I like that. I like that. So as of right now, since you guys know I've been gone for 2 weeks, one of the week was a mastermind with leaderships, right? And out of that, we actually got out of that one item is masterminding with something different than we've done in the past. So it's not all about the 20%, right? And it's not all about the success coaching and the productivity coaching. We're actually going to mastermind with teams, and we're going to mastermind with assistants so we can support the assistants to grow on their teams, right? Because a lot of times the assistants have questions too, and they don't know where to go to, and they don't know who to ask questions. So we're going to be doing that, and we're also going to be masterminding with cappers, people who've already capped, and then the next go around is going to be with people who want to cap who haven't really capped yet, and so trying to figure out where the obstacle lies with that. Yes, Audrey, yes, cappers, so that's very, very exciting as well. So if there is something else that you're interested in seeing, I did send out an email last week regarding what would it take you to attend the classes, right? To actually get one of these classes on your schedule and that you would want to attend to. And I asked you to email me, and I received quite a few emails back. And one of them was the assistant mastermind. So I was like really, really excited about that because I already had it going. And so that was fun. And then we also shared file and meeting.
No,
Oh,
you're
yeah,
fine.
I did share file and meeting, which it wasn't me, but it says it's me, but it's not me. So we do have that. And a lot of people asked for the more team to come back, which I thought that was exciting to see. And I was happy to see that because they are pretty amazing, really, really amazing. And
I'm gonna
then,
use the one from last year.
hey, guys, can you mute yourself? Because we can actually hear you. So, we will have the more team coming back. We're going to have another listing class coming up because a lot of people asked for that, and you asked for another buyer's class coming. What was really interesting, there was a lot of people asking for the same class that just hit like 2 weeks ago, which that was interesting to see, people asking for that. So, what's going to happen moving forward is Barbara and I are going to really, really diligently watch the regional calendar to make sure we don't double up, right? Because I saw that we doubled up on an amazing class that everybody loved. Um, and that class was the buyer's presentation that they did with the productivity coaching group, which thank you so much for doing that. Renee, Danny, Krista, Beth, and Barb, because oh my gosh, I got so much good feedback on that. However, it went out the same time as the listing class for the region. And so we definitely are going to be a little bit more diligent in watching the calendar. But I do want more feedback from y'all because this is about you. We're an agent centric company, and we want to make sure we're doing what you need, right? To make sure your ceilings are being pushed. Also, on that note, we have our day at the lake already posted. The links are up and hot, so make sure you sign up because we do need to make sure we get the count sooner than later, I guess, because of COVID, they have to order early. Also, I believe, I don't know, what's the date today? Give me a date, somebody. Unmute yourself. I don't know.
18th.
18th. Ooh, we are past the date for ordering our Red Day t-shirts. So, if you, since it is Monday, I could probably push this out. So if you want the new 2022 Red Day t-shirt, please get your money to the front desk. Okay, make sure you get them ordered. Make sure you get it, because you won't have a Red Day t-shirt. And about doing it all together, it's kind of cool. We all have our own Red Day t-shirt on, right? So on that note, is Desiree on here? I'm going to call her out. She doesn't even know it. No Desiree yet? Okay, so it's only a few minutes into it. Renee, I see you. Do you want to talk about the Red Day for Tracy? Or
Well,
anybody from the ALC and Tracy? Patrick?
I have a call into Boys and Girls Club right now.
Okay. Okay. So we want to really, really get working on that. Manteca, anybody want to talk about that? Danny B, I see you. Janet, are you feeling better? Are you on? Barb, you want to talk about the Manteca one, please? Oh, wait, there's Des. Okay, Desiree can talk about Lodi and Stockton, please.
Hi guys, real quick, sorry. So I'm going to be meeting with the people over at Grace and Mercy this week to narrow down what our jobs are going to be. And so I'll be getting out some list of sign-up sheets, maybe 2 different shifts, because there's going to be so many of us to come and work in shifts. That way we're not all there at the same time, because they also are going to have people that they're feeding there that same day. So it's just going to be a lot going on. So once I get that narrowed down, I'll get all those lists out, and that's it. We just need to show up and be ready to work and help serve and help organize, because they have a huge storage facility that we're going to be doing a lot of organization for them.
So Des, for Lodi and Stockton, you're asking for donations for the
yeah, it's kind of like meal prep containers, things like that. Not like storage that we use at home and keep at home. These are what
so
you
I
can
kind of
give.
was thinking that at first. So I'm glad you got
so
some
what you can
clarity
give,
there.
what you can give, you know, kind of like to-go containers, if you would. However, I have asked for letters from them because they are a nonprofit, and I have not been successful at getting that. I've been asking for it numerous times. Because there's also a facility in Stockton I know that said, hey, yes, we'd love to donate, but we need a letter. So hopefully, once I see them this week, I can get my hands on the letter, and then I can get it out to everyone, and that would be great. And if not, then, you know, that's fine too. At least we'll be there too, because she really is looking forward to us helping her organize this storage facility.
Awesome, you guys. So what is that company called? Just so for Lodi and Stockton.
It's Grace and Mercy Charitable Foundation. And so they have a kitchen that they serve out of on Sacramento Street here in Lodi.
Perfect. So what happens on Red Day I see a lot of new people on this call today. We close down worldwide. We give back to the community on that day. And we all wear our Red Day t-shirts. So order your Red Day t-shirts.
Yes.
And it's cool. We designed them. So yeah, very, very cool. So awesome. Thank you, Desiree.
You're welcome.
Is there anybody from Manteca Modesto want to share?
Hey, good morning, everybody. So Manteca Modesto ALC, we are meeting with Valley Caps, which is an nonprofit organization here in Manteca, and they also have a facility in Modesto. Valley Caps helps young adults from the ages of 18 and above to help with developmental skills. And it's all the way basic to, like, when they want to be able to cook, they need to learn how to boil water. Little things like that help them to be able to function in society a little bit more and be comfortable with that. So we are working, and we are going to be meeting immediately following. An email was sent out to the Modesto Manteca ALC to let them know that we are meeting with the executive director immediately following this meeting to discuss some of the projects. They have sent over some projects, and they're little projects, but they mean a lot to them. They're things like garden renovations, a horseshoe pit, possibly building a swing set that's going to help them with mobility skills. So we're very excited. They have 3 locations. We're going to kind of narrow down today to see which ones that we can really make an impact on the community. So immediately following this, Manteca Modesto ALC, please be present. We're excited.
Awesome.
And I'd like to add to that real quick, Michelle. I'd like to add to that real quick. So Janet McMahon has set up a boutique that a spring boutique that will be held here in the Manteca office, I believe on the 23rd of April, during the day. It's a Saturday, and that is to support Red Day for Modesto Market Center. So please, it's in all the mail. You see it in your email, daily emails. Please take a look and come out and support that and do some shopping, and it will help support our Red Day costs.
Yeah, Janice worked very hard, you guys. She's got quite a bit of vendors out there for everybody that, you know, whatever they're looking for, spring boutique wise or anything. So that will be here in the Manteca Market Center. So please mark your calendars, because those proceeds will be supporting our Red Day.
You guys, and that date is you guys need to mute yourself so we're not. There we go. You guys, that date is very, very successful. She's been doing this in the Tracy office, I don't know, definitely over 5 years. So, and that's her farm, you guys. And she gets deals out of this. It's incredible. I wish she was on. She's not feeling too well right now, so that's probably why she's not. But I highly recommend everybody going. Delilah, welcome to KW, my friend, and you're already giving back. Why don't you go ahead and share what you just posted in the chat, because I think it's important for Desiree to listen to this as well. There's so many of you on, I can't see where you're at.
I'm here. Yeah, it's Delia. I have someone who is willing to donate the meal prep containers or to-go containers, or any other kind of, whatever else we need. It's a restaurant out of Carmel.
It's a very successful restaurant out of Carmel, and very.
Is it Basil? Oh, that's right. We talked about it. Yes.
And they're opening up one in Tracy, right?
Yes,
Soon.
We are in the process of opening another one. Yes.
So that's exciting. I want to give a little kudos to them. So I don't know if Desiree's still on. I saw that she was walking back and forth over there. So we'll put Desiree's name and number in the chat box. If you could just copy that, and then you can just give her a call. Oh, there she is. So why don't you put your contact information, Des, inside of there.
No problem. I'll put it in there right now.
Awesome.
Perfect.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. I love how we're all coming together like that. So very, very cool. And there are going to be overlapping because, sometimes there's going to be a need over in the Tracy office that you might be saying, oh my gosh, I have the best connection for that. So you're going to want to get a hold of the ALC over there. So definitely be open to helping all. Together everyone achieves more. And obviously we are Keller Williams Central Valley. So I love that we're one big happy family. Anyways, I hope you guys all enjoyed the cheesecake that I sent out to you all. Yes, good. It was a little tidbit of New York I was giving back instead of buying people t-shirts that would just fold up and be done with, kind of thing. But yeah, the cheesecake was pretty amazing. So I wanted to make sure I shared that with all the offices. So yeah, good stuff. All right. Any questions for me before I hand the mic over to Barbara over there? Yes, no, yes, no. All right, Barb, take it away, sister. Or cousin. I didn't mean sister, cousin.
It's all good. So thank you, Michelle. Glad to have you back. I had a different format in place, but we're going to pivot like we do at Keller Williams. Am I not on it anymore? It's following Danny.
I think it did follow me. Now go that way. There you go.
Okay, it's following me again. No, it's not.
Do the thing. Do your thing.
Okay, now we're back. Okay, so first, before I continue, I just want to make one little announcement. We have, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. About 14 of us here in the Manteca office, so yay. Thank you all that are here for coming and being present, because we really wanted that to happen. We have a guest speaker today, and it's really nice to see all of you present in the meeting. So thank you for being here. We do have a guest speaker today, Gina LaGoria. Thank you for being here with us, Gina. She is from the law firm of Gina LaGoria Estate Planning. She's an estate planning attorney. They provide estate planning and elder law services in Modesto. Only in Modesto, Gina?
Oh, no.
Okay, I didn't think so, but So we are all Stockton, Tracy, Lodi, Manteca, and Modesto offices, just so you know. But if you'd like to come on up, I'll let you take over. Get this out of the way, too. Thank you for
Somebody's
being here.
phone, I
That's
don't
mine.
wanna lose it.
So you
Okay,
may
you got
have
the
to do
camera?
this now.
Yeah.
So
Okay,
you just put your hand up like I did.
all right, is it staying? It
Not
looks
yet,
like
it's gonna blink. Do we need to move it a little more?
Good link.
Not yet.
So you release yourself first.
Go ahead.
Do the same thing.
Okay, released.
No,
It
no.
needs to face first.
There, it just flashed at me.
There
Is
you
that a good
Perfect.
sign?
That is a
Okay.
good sign.
All
I
right.
love technology.
Oh, yeah.
There you go.
I feel like I'm being stalked, right? So, all right, yeah. Arthur, do you have the PowerPoint?
I do.
Okay, well, he's getting that loaded up. Thank you for having me, everyone. As they said, I'm Gina Liguria, estate planning attorney, and I actually practice in San Joaquin, Calaveras, Tuolumne, Modesto, Merced counties primarily, a little bit in Sacramento here and there, but I have some colleagues up there. So today I'm going to talk to you about estate planning and why we do estate planning and how important it is. And also the ravages of probate and why we want to avoid probate. And if you want to move the slides, sir. I just have put some of my contact information. I think that the handouts are in the chat for those of you joining us on Zoom. So these slides are in the chat for you as well. So you can take that with you or Facebook, Instagram, and have a website with a plethora of resources for you. And next slide. So I have been practicing as an attorney since 1999. And I went to law school for the sole reason of becoming an estate planning attorney. My own story is that my father was killed in an auto accident in the Livermore foothills at the age of 42. And he had no plan in place, nothing, no will, no trust, just absolutely nothing. And it was left to me as the oldest child in my very early 20s to probate his estate. I had a younger brother and a sister who was just 12 years old. We spent 4.5 years in the probate court. And when it was all said and done, the only people that really got any money were the attorneys in the court system. And so that was very sad to me. And I made it my mission. I went to law school just for the sole purpose of becoming an estate planning attorney. So I've been doing this for quite a while, went to law school up in Sacramento, did an MBA at Golden Gate. But I primarily focused my area in the Central Valley. Next slide. And that's why I do what I do. I don't want my girls to have to go through this. Like I said, 4.5 years, my sister was almost 17 by the time we were done. So your family should not have to suffer like we did and how I see many other families do because they don't have good planning in place. Next slide. And so what planning options are available? Well, you can do what my dad did and nothing at all, right? And so then you're definitely going to probate and you die what's called intestate, which means the laws of the state of California kick in and the probate code dictates who gets your stuff. And it starts out with your surviving spouse, your children. If you don't have any of those, it goes to your parents if they're still alive. And if you don't have any of those, it goes to your siblings. And for some people, that's horrifying because they might not have talked to their siblings in 20 years, right? My no good brother's gonna get all my stuff, oh my God. And so we have to do proper planning to make sure that those laws of intestacy aren't the default position for you when it comes to the probate situation. People say, well, I do a will, I have a will in place. And I say, that's fantastic. Those are really good instructions for the judge in the court on how you want your stuff to pass. People are shocked. A will still goes to probate. It's still the same time period to get through the court system. It's still all the same hearings, all the same paperwork, and all the same filings. All we do is take your beautiful will, take it down to the court, and the judge gets to be in control of that process. So we don't want that for you. I certainly don't want that for you, having gone through it and practicing in the area. And now the third option, a living trust. And I'm going to get into more of what is a living trust and what is an estate plan and why you want to have this in place, not only for yourselves, but as real estate professionals, you want to be recommending this for your clients. They have just made the biggest investment of their lifetime. And they are protecting it with all kinds of insurance, mortgage insurance, house insurance, fire insurance, earthquake insurance. Why not probate insurance by having a living trust in place? Next slide. So you should avoid it because it can be very expensive. It's about 4% of gross assets. And I have a chart here that will show you that. There are court fees, there are newspaper publication fees, there are attorney fees, there are probate referee appraisal fees. There are just fees up the wazoo. It's almost like a closing, you know, title. There's all kinds of title fees. You all know because you see those statements, but it's very fee intensive. And like I said, not a lot left for the family afterward after everybody gets their bite at the apple. It's time consuming. My own horror story was those 4.5 years. I would say on average in San Joaquin County, which I was where I think a majority of you are from, it is about 2 years in the San Joaquin County Court. We have one probate judge, Elizabeth Humphreys, in San Joaquin Superior Court. Their docket is very full and they are just going nonstop 5 days a week, hearing after hearing, but it's still taking us 2 years, and that's if everything goes well. Can you imagine making a mortgage payment for 2 years or not having the authority to do something for 2 years? That can be devastating financially for a family. It's open to the public. It's every probate proceeding. You can jump online to the court website and get all the information you want about that person's very personal private affairs, all their bank accounts, their house, how much debt they had, who all their heirs, who their children are. You get to know a lot of dirt about someone just by having access to a public probate proceeding. That's very invasive to me. That's what I never understood. I'm dating myself now. But Jackie Kennedy Onassis, she was a really private lady, if you ask me. I know she was first lady and everything, but for the most part later in life, she guarded her privacy and she would walk through Central Park with her scarf and her big glasses on, right? She only died with a will. If you want to Google it, you can see where her estate went. So I just don't understand why somebody would subject themselves to public scrutiny like that. And then please.
Quick question.
If
someone has, let's say, multiple homes in different areas and they, don't have any planning, does each county have to do their own probate for each home?
That's a great question. So not county specific. As long as you are in the state of California, we can combine it all into one probate.
Oh, okay.
That's not an issue. But if you have property in multiple states, including timeshares or a little vacation property in Hawaii or a condo in Florida that you visit on occasion, we have to do a probate in those states as well. So no matter where you own property, so you start the main one in California, and then we have to file what's called an ancillary proceeding in that other state. And I have to call a colleague and have them do that filing because I'm not licensed in the other 50 states. So it's important that you do it for one for California, catch all, and then any other property in other states has to have a whole separate probate. So yeah, next slide. So a probate sale, and this is really important for those working in the real estate profession, something you need to know. The people can't just sell the property, right? Grandma dies, grandma's on the house, and everybody wants to sell the house and they call you to list it. Well, time out, put the brakes on. We have to go to court and have somebody named as the administrator of the estate. So someone has to be in charge, court appointed, of that particular estate. Now, this, of course, is if they have no living trust in place. If you have a living trust, as I'll show you later, the trustee is vested with that authority and can start acting immediately. So a very big advantage of that, they can sign a listing agreement right away as long as you have a death certificate and you can be off and listing that property. But a probate sale is highly regulated. There are very specific court steps involved. And it's carefully managed and monitored, and there's deadlines and documentation, and we have to give notice to everybody under the sun, and you have to honor that through the process. So it's really important that if you're ever faced with selling a decedent's property, that you say, time out, what's the legal authority for doing that? Are you the court-appointed administrator? Because escrow is going to want the petition for probate and the letters, the certified letters and all of that. those of you that have done a probate sale, you probably know some of the hoops that you have to jump through. So I just give you that as sort of a buyer or a seller, an agent, beware that you need to be aware of what's the person's authority to be able to sell that property. If they're a trustee, all you need is the trust and a death certificate to know that the person's dead, right? I've had people try to sell property even though the person wasn't dead yet. So yeah, go figure. Yeah, that's a criminal act, but you know, that was beside the point to them. So, next slide, please.
That's funny.
So like I said, your family just can't sell your home, but even more criminal about this is that the fees are calculated on gross value of these estates. So in my little hypothetical example there, you have a property that is appraised for $450,000. And the appraisals, by the way, are done by the court. They're done by the court appraiser. We don't get to go and get a nice little third-party appraisal to have the value be what we want it to be. It's done by the court appraiser. So he or she appraises the property, and you may have a $250,000 loan on a $450,000 property. You say, oh, okay, so my probate's only $200,000. No, your probate is the full gross appraised value as determined by the court appraiser. So the full 450. So sometimes we have to make a decision. Does it make sense to probate this property? Is there going to be enough left after all of the fees and commissions and everything? Or should you just do a deed in lieu of or allow foreclosure to take place? And so that's something that we talk about with our clients, depending upon what the situation is, because it's very expensive to go through the probate process only to find out that you're upside down in the end by the time you do everything. Next slide. And here's a little chart about probate fees. I basically do this for illustration. If you have a $500,000 gross estate value, and your estate is everything you own, just most people think of it as your house, but it is your bank accounts, and it is your stocks and your investments and your vehicles and any personal property of value that you have. So it's absolutely everything you own. And one of the most difficult things for somebody to do is to find out just exactly what a person has. It's only around tax time that people kind of get organized and get all their paperwork in one spot. But in my own case, I had to monitor my dad's mail for a full year to figure out what accounts he actually had, because he just didn't share that information and there was no file there. So it's a very difficult job to try to discern what somebody's assets are. So that's part of this being organized process and leaving a legacy. So those are the probate fees on a $500,000 estate. You'll see that the attorney fees are $13,000. The administrator gets another $13,000 if they choose to take it. So that's $26,000 plus $2,500 in court and publication fees. So you're looking at about $28,500 on just a $500,000 estate. And given the market these days with real estate, there's a lot of houses that are right around the $500,000 range. I don't know what average prices are in your market area these days, but I know down in Modesto, we're tipping up against the ceiling here little by little. So that's a whole lot of money. That is a whole lot of money. Next slide, please. So what do? We do what's called a comprehensive estate plan. And this just breaks down all of the pieces of an estate plan. And I'm going to walk you through that. And why do we have an estate plan? Well, again, like insurance, consider it your standby device, your safety net. It's the thing that is there to protect you if you become disabled or protect your family when you die. There's no court involvement in a comprehensive estate plan with a living trust. And your children, grandchildren, essentially your legacy, can carry on for generations to come without being eaten away by court and probate and attorney fees. I bet you if you ask around, everybody has a probate horror story. Everybody's been through it. And in the end, it really tears families apart in a time where people should be coming together and grieving or celebrating a life well lived from their loved one. Next slide. So here are all the elements of a good estate plan, and I like to break it down into two parts. And that's why you'll see the upper ones in the sky there where the tree are. Those are your A documents, or your above ground documents, as I like to call them. And those are things that serve you while you're alive. So financial power of attorney, healthcare, Hipaa, advance directive, those sorts of things. And then when you pass, you go to the B documents, or those that when you're below ground. And it's a living trust, a pour over will, guardianship, personal property, and then some funeral instructions. So we'll walk through each one of those rather briefly. So a trust. Now, a trust is just a method to hold title to property. You are all familiar with reading deeds. Joint tenancy, tenants in common, married man is his sole and separate property, unmarried woman, a widow, all those terms. But it's really important. Oh, and community property in the state of California. But it's really important in terms like joint tenancy, right of survivorship, community property, right of survivorship, or tenants in common, and what exactly those mean. People are shocked sometimes to learn that tenants in common does not mean survivor island, right? Tenants in common is, I get my little slice of the pie, you get your little slice of the pie, and we can do whatever we want with both slices of that pie. And so they don't realize it's not really a good form of estate planning, because they have to decide what happens to their respective slices for their own families and do some good planning on that end. So a trust is just a way to hold title. So instead of being joint tenants on a deed, now you're trustees. So it would be John and Jane Smith, trustees of the Smith Family Trust. That's instead of having John and Jane Smith, husband and wife, joint tenants. They have created this trust. And I like to think of a trust as a box, right? I had the graphic there earlier of the treasure box. It is simply a box, a treasure box framework to put all your assets into. You own it. You own everything in it. It is all yours to do what you want. Buy, sell, trade, mortgage, encumber, whatever you want to do, you own it. You're just wearing the trustee hat instead of the old joint tenant hat. That's all. It's still yours. It's still in your name. Do whatever you want with it. But then within the trust, like a will, we have instructions. Who's going to get your stuff? Where does it go? Who does it pass to? Who's in charge? You get to name your trustee or your successor, the person that's going to carry out your wishes when the time comes. So a trust is merely a way to pass on your hard-earned wealth to the next generation without court involvement. It has all your wishes laid out clearly for your trustee to follow. Now, typically everything goes to the spouse first, right? Mine and yours, and but then after that, we got to make sure that there is a safety net in place. Please.
Question from Zoomland. Is it possible to create the trust during the escrow?
It is possible to create the trust during escrow. Absolutely. Yep. And I've been, brainstorming, and maybe you all have some good ideas about this that you can shoot me an email down the road, is how can we encourage home buyers to create that trust during that process? Is there some sort of education or literature? They buy insurance, they buy fire insurance, mortgage insurance, title insurance, hazard, natural disaster insurance. They should have trust insurance, something in place to protect that big investment. Yes.
Two other questions. First one is, what happens when a husband passes away and wife is not on title, no will or trust?
Yeah, well, we're going to court, and wife has to prove that that property was acquired during marriage as community property. So California has a community property presumption, but it also has a presumption that title trumps everything. So whoever's on the deed wins. And here's where it gets ugly. If he didn't have any kids from a prior marriage, she's probably going to be fine. The court will confirm that property to her as community property, especially it was bought during their marriage. But where it gets really ugly, and I have several cases like this now, is where he's the only one on title. His kids from a former relationship say that's his house, but she's not on title and she's contributed toward the house. Now we're in court and we're battling, and it's ugly and it's getting expensive. So those can be really difficult situations, and this happens a lot during financing. So people come off of titles so that one spouse can qualify for the loan, and they sign everything, and she quit claims it to him, married man, sole and separate property, right? And it's all his. And then nobody ever tells them to add her back to the title. Or they do get told that by somebody, but they never take care of it. I have, let me just think, I have 5 pieces right now that's going on, where the lender issue happened and they came off a title, and now the woman is not on the title anymore. And, you know, the spouse has died and they're sort of stuck.
So Gina, I'm sorry, I have a client who's actually texting me, and she's wondering, she signed the interspousal deed to remove her from the house and the loan. But yet they're legally separated, not divorced. So would that mean that she is still responsible? I mean, if something were to happen to him?
She would be responsible for, if she's not on the loan?
She's not on the loan and she's not on the house, but they're legally separated but not divorced, but she did sign the interspousal deed.
Yeah, so she's not gonna get anything out of the house.
Okay.
And she's not responsible for the loan on the house. But California is still a community property state, and if it's a legal court ordered separation, it should talk about debts before separation and then debts after separation. If it's just a informal separation, like we're just gonna live apart kind of thing, that's not legally recognized, but she may still be legally responsible for his community debt outside of the loan in the house, because the loan is secured on the house, which is only in his name. So that's the intersection of family law and estate planning law. And that's something that's very unique, not cookie cutter approach. I would definitely encourage her to do a consultation with me.
Perfect.
Yeah.
I was about to say, I'm gonna give
Yeah.
you your number. Okay.
Please.
Additional question. How often should you update your trust?
I say about every 5 years, because that allows for big life-changing events. You might have minor children who achieve adulthood, people are out of college, kids get married. You might have lost a spouse. So about every 5 years, and tax laws change significantly. It seems about every 5 years. But if you're keeping in contact with an attorney, you've developed that trusting relationship, they should have you on their email list or be sending out a newsletter and saying, hey, the tax laws are changing. Like we went through a big push in early 21. Congress was thinking about changing the estate tax exemption laws and lowering them way down. And some of my clients were going to have a big taxable estate. So we were monitoring the status of tax legislation. It turned out they pulled the plug on the whole thing. So we didn't have to change anybody's plan. But had they passed some of those laws, we would have been, hop to it, get those people in to do amendments to make sure that their plan could take maximum advantage of some of the changes in tax law. So about every 5 years, change circumstance. Also, divorce. Oh my God. If you get a divorce, you got to change your plan, right? And update your beneficiaries. Go to your employer the next day with your divorce order in place and get those beneficiary changes. I can't tell you how many ex-spouses are still on employer plans with benefit, and that was a man in this case. He was married like twice more after that. So he'd been 2-3 wives ago that, weren't even on his life insurance and his retirement and that sort of thing. Please.
What is the difference between living trust and revocable trust?
They are essentially one and the same. Yeah. So we call it a revocable living trust. There's also an irrevocable trust. A revocable trust means that you can amend it, change it during your lifetime, anytime you want. Living merely means that it was created while you were alive. There is this thing called a testamentary trust or a death trust. And within your will that goes to court, you say, I want to set up a trust and have all my assets go to this trust upon my death. Well, that still goes to probate. If you're going to go to all that trouble, why not just set up the trust while you're alive? Because it is completely revocable. There's reasons to do an irrevocable trust, but I won't get into those. Those are highly specialized. Again, if you find yourself in that situation, that again would be a good time to do a consult to discuss your unique planning needs. So yeah, one more question.
So when you list your corporation in your trust, do you have to list the corporation bank account, or does that take care of it?
No, the corporation's assets hold all their assets within their entity. They also are a legal entity with their own tax ID number. So You have an LLC, you have an S Corp, you have a C Corp, that's an entity. So here's a box or a building block. And then I create my trust over here, and here's this box. And all I do is I assign all of my ownership interest in whatever legal entity is over here to my trust, so that my trustee has the authority upon my death to work with the managing member or the controller or the president of those other legal entities to wrap up those affairs or buy out of my interests. You know, even in an LLC or a partnership, you need like a buy-sell arrangement, a buy-sell agreement. Because if it's two partners and you both are primary folks, what happens when one of you goes? You know, is your family left out in the cold for everything you built over here? So those things have to be clearly spelled out in each of those entities and in your trusts. All right, so that's a trust. Let's go on and just talk briefly about the pour over will. And I know you're saying, well, wait a minute, Gina, you told me a will was bad. A will went to court. Yes, in general, a will is not a good device all by itself. But this is a unique will. It's called pour over because it takes whatever assets you forget to put into your trust and pours them over into your trust. So that's why it's called a pour over will. And the off chance that you forgot to put an asset in your trust, or your lender took it out of your trust when they were doing a refi or something, we can take that will that says, I, John Doe, give all my assets to my trust, and take that to court, one quick hearing, one petition, not 2.5 years in probate court, and pour those assets into the trust so that the family can carry on with the business of the trust. Once that happens and it's poured back into the trust, then you can proceed forward. I do a lot of these simply because of the whole refinancing issue again. Houses are out of trust all the time, and the people come, they think they're in, but the last deed on record when they do title search is a deed out of the trust. And so we have to go to court to have those put back in. It's called an 850 petition. And like I said, in general, one hearing takes us about 90 days to get on the court calendar. I get them drafted in about 3 days, but then waiting for the court and that whole process. So it doesn't totally hold up a sale of something, but we have had some escrows held up just because we're waiting for that court date and confirmation of that pouring of that asset back into the trust. So that's a pour over will. Next slide.
They have to still do that before they die though. They can't,
Oh, they have to create the trust and the pour over will together.
Okay.
Yeah, same time. We do everything at one time. Part of your overall estate plan.
Yeah.
Also in that pour over will is the place where we would just list guardians for minor children. Now, this is when my girls were really young. Now they are 20 and 22 and graduating from college this month. So, but you know, you got to think about who's going to raise the children. Who are you entrusting their care to? And people say, oh, my mom and dad will take over. Well, your mom and dad might not be spring chickens, okay? You've got to have some backup people in place because grandma and grandpa may not be able to handle, 2, 3, 4-year-olds and raise them up till they're, 18, 19, 20. So you want to make sure that you have guardians named. Guardians of children mean physical custody. That is completely different from trustees in the trust, who is a money person, the person that manages their money for their care and their education and their health. So those can be the same person if you want, but they're 2 different jobs in 2 different legal documents, and they can work together for the care of minor children. Next slide.
So if you don't have a pour over will and you did forget to put something in there,
That was my.
You can create it. Yeah, you can have an after created pour over will. It can still be your last will and testament that says, I, John Doe, give everything to my trust, which was created on December 31st, 1999.
if you didn't do that. then what-
If you didn't do that, I would circle back around and get one done. Just as, again, an extra layer of insurance.
So if they die and they haven't done that pour over, they have to go to probate?
Well, we still go to probate court. It gets a little more complicated. We have to go gather up all the evidence that says that this person intended this asset to be in the trust, but somehow it didn't end up in the trust. And so we have to do declarations and we have to go back and get all the old title records. And so if you can imagine, all those take attorney time and research. So the bill just increases, whereas if you have the pour over will, in you go. Yeah.
So I'd imagine that will still take some time.
It still does take some time, but yeah, when you are drafting from scratch with
Sure.
declarations and gathering evidence and having to do investigation, it takes some time to get all that. Whereas a pour over will with a trust,
Got it.
it works well. Yeah. So that's again a standby device. And then personal property designations. And I say the biggest fights aren't usually about the money. It's about grandma's turkey platter and grandpa's pocket watch. And I have two sisters who fight over this Japanese base that their dad brought back from the war. And they haven't spoken in almost 30 years now. And they exchange custody of the base every January 1. And I'm just, God forbid somebody drops it during the exchange process, right? So it's that kind of stuff that people just really fight over. And finally, funeral wishes. So what do you want to have happen? There is no greater gift you can give your family aside from a trust, but writing down your funeral wishes. What do you want? This is agonizing. My brother, sister, and I, we spent days in tears trying to figure out, do we bury our dad or do we cremate him and spread him around at the ranch? And oh, it was just horrifying having to go through that as a young person. At any age, to lose a parent or a loved one is devastating. But then trying to figure out what they would want to have happen, you really second guess yourself. So if nothing else, do your funeral planning or get something, written down that this is really what I want to have happen, because funerals are very expensive. In 2021, it was about $9,200. That's gone up significantly because of shipping costs and trucking costs and fuel costs and all that now. I had a very lovely family come in the other day. They spent $22,000 on grandma's funeral. $22,000, money that nobody really had. But when it was all said and done, they felt like they gave her the send off and got everything the way they're. Caskets alone are like $8,000 now. It's just ridiculous. So, so you just, this is a gift. You have to write something down. What do you want? What are your wishes? And you have to also make sure that you have it designated who gets to make those decisions, because families really fight over this. Well, I knew and I knew. If you are not in a legal relationship, like domestic partner or marriage or something like that, you just have a significant other that you've had in your life for 30 years and they know you best, and you want them to plan your funeral, they have no legal authority, none whatsoever. Your brothers and sisters who you can't stand are going to swoop in and just kick your significant other out and start taking over. And it may not even be anything that you wanted. I say this because I've seen it. I've seen it all. I've seen the tears and the fighting and the jostling for position in these types of situations. So good planning is important. All right, so that is below ground, everything below ground. Let's talk about above ground very briefly, because we want to make sure that you're protected not only when you're gone, but when you're alive. What happens if you become disabled? I saw this a lot during our COVID-19 pandemic. People in the hospital on ventilators with nothing in place, right? And they won't let me in there to sign documents because of their protocols. In the old days, we could go in a hospital, but we can't do hospital calls right now because everything's still, in healthcare situations locked down. But, who's going to make your decisions about your money matters, pay your bills, who is going to do your healthcare, talk to your doctors. And if you want to just start going through the slides, Arthur, financial power of attorney, again, your business agent, who's going to pay those bills, who's going to file your taxes. I have a lot of POAs filing taxes for mom and dad because they have dementia of some kind. But it's someone to step in and take care of your financial life if you're not able to do that. And then also next one is a healthcare. So someone to advocate for you. They're a DNR, or they don't want to be kept alive on machines, or they are an organ donor. Typically it's your spouse, but again, what if that's not your situation? This is where significant other comes in all the time, because a significant other is there by the bedside saying what the wishes are, and then mom or sister come roaring in and they have all the legal authority in the world. Significant other is out in the cold. And so you don't want that happening to you, or your kids are fighting. You got 3 or 4 kids and they all disagree. What are your wishes? What is your advance directive? And that's the next slide. Those are your wishes and we write them down. And your agent can be anyone who's 18 years or older. So you can't put your kids in charge of this until they reach the age of majority. But we make sure that your inpatient treatment decisions are lined out carefully. And then lastly, the HIPAA, we have the HIPAA directive on the next slide. It just talks about who gets your private health care information. HIPAA, you sign one of these when you go to the eye doctor, the dentist, prescriptions, everything. So this just says, here's my chosen person who can access my healthcare records. And so all those elements, if you want to move on to the next one, are part of a comprehensive estate plan. We have while you're alive and then when you're gone, and we put all that together. And I say the most important part about planning is actually doing it. We're all really busy now. We went from a very kind of slower pace of life to 0 to 60, it seems like overnight in the first quarter of 2022. I mean, I can't even believe that tax day is here and over now. So, you know, it's important to make sure that you take care of these things. Do it yourself. I don't recommend you do it yourself because it's fraught with peril and you don't know what you don't know. And I get a lot of do it yourself kind of plans. And guess where we go? Court. We go to court because everything is like upended and it's just crazy and you can't tell what people wanted. And so we have to then take it to a judge to interpret and decide. So what good was that legal Zoom document in the first place? And then just wrapping it up here. So we want to make sure, what legacy are you going to leave for your family? Not the hot mess that my dad left me. I want something better for your family. If you want to go to the last one there. So that's our contact information. Thank you so much for the questions. I should say too, I offer free consultations and I answer questions pretty regularly on email, or Jack will take a message and get it to me on Slack, and then I'll call you back if you have a title question or something. So that's pretty rare in my industry to get a free consultation, but I want to make sure people do good estate planning. Okay, you had a question, then we'll hit the Zoom folks.
Well, yeah, I was just gonna say, what if you could ballpark what it would cost somebody to put a trust together?
Yeah,
Just a ballpark.
yeah. No, I don't mind. I don't mind sharing that because you can decide if I'm the right person for you or not. So I do everything flat fee because I want you to know going into it what it's going to cost. And so everything that we just talked about, including the deed transfers and assisting with the financial asset transfers, is $4,400. Now that's not the cheapest. You're going to tell me, oh, my brother-in-law got a trust for $1,200. And I'll say, okay, I don't know where he went or what their qualifications were. Well, he went to Document Preparations RS. Oh, okay. You come see me when brother-in-law dies because you're going to need a probate attorney to go to court.
Yeah.
And that's where we kind of leave it. And then there's the really high other end of some bigger law firms in town. So we try to fall right in the middle because, you know, it's an investment. It's an absolute investment in protecting everything that you've worked so hard to build.
And that's including all the filing fees.
That's filing fees.
Here's our mess.
Yep. Yeah.
Okay, since
yeah.
you're being so,
If you could put your question in the chat and then Arthur's going to read them to me. One over here.
After all this is done, then, you know, the people have or my trust, they would come to you and have.
They can, and we encourage that just because we know your family, we know your assets, we know, but we include in every plan a comprehensive guide for your successor trustee on what their duties are and what they need to do. And I give them a free consultation and walk them through that process. And for some of my families, they're like, thank you very much. They grab their portfolio and off they go into the wild blue yonder. And I never hear from them again. Or they say, oh my God, I don't want to do any of that. You take it over. That's now what we call an engagement for a trust administration. And so that's where we would do everything for them, you know, soup to nuts. So it varies, everything in between, people that are ready. But if you, let's say, move to, I don't know, the Bay Area and you want to go to a Bay Area attorney, you can take that portfolio and they will know exactly what to do to administer that trust. You own your documents. It's yours. I don't hold them hostage.
So what you could do is tell your family member, when something happens to you, call them. They'll give you a free consultation.
Yes, absolutely.
So to at least kind of put that as part of the
Yes, that's what we do. And it's in the portfolio. Call our office for the free consultation. Okay, Arthur, I think you had some chat questions.
Oh, we got through all the chat questions.
Oh, okay. And now there was somebody who just got muted that might have had a chat question.
They were just speaking.
Oh, okay,
Unfortunately.
okay.
Nope,
All
I
right.
put one in there.
Oh, we have a question.
Yeah, hang on, I'm doing it right now. Done.
Oh, there we go.
Do you want me to just ask it? What is the cost to review a trust?
To review a trust, so I say it depends. If you can drop off your documents to my office, I can look at them ahead of time, and you can come in for a consultation. That's no charge. But if you roll in off the street with all your brothers and sisters and all this complicated drama and blindside me, then it's my hourly rate, which is $400 an hour. And I say that.
No, it's an existing trust that I.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's an existing trust that I just haven't had reviewed in a long
Yeah,
time.
no, I'm happy to review it. I will tell you this, full disclosure. I don't amend other people's work. So if you have a full trust done and you just want me to look at it, I'm happy to do that. But I will also point out to you the pitfalls that are in it. You say, okay, just give it a little polish, a little update. I can't do that because I don't know what else is hidden in there. Without reviewing the whole trust, it will end up costing you more for me to go page by page and amend rather than me just saying, let's do what's called a restatement. We restate it and bring it up to snuff with all the current state laws, federal tax laws, all the organization pieces. We double check title, we do titling of assets. So think of it as remodeling your bathroom, right? You still have the same bathroom, the same toilet, the same sink, plumbing still all works, but we're gonna remodel it a little bit.
Is there a ballpark cost on that?
It's roughly the same, but I have to, so we start at 4,400 and then I bring that down if the deeds are properly done, if the assets are properly funded, because then it's like not starting over from scratch. But if you've got a hot mess, we're probably going to be starting from scratch. Yeah, question.
Are copies of a trust recorded with Fort County and acceptable if family cannot find it and they know one exists?
They are not recorded with the county. Trusts are not recorded. However, I would go to the trust transfer deed, the deed that put that house, that real property into the trust, and up in the upper left-hand corner, it usually says recording requested by, and you can get the name of the firm that prepared that deed. And that's a good place to start, calling them and asking them if they still have that trust on file somewhere. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. A lot of times attorneys retire. And then when they retire, they hand off their files to another firm or another person. So you have to kind of do the breadcrumb thing and follow that chain. It's just like a chain of title. I've even gone so far as to track down the notary on the deed and have them go look up their old notary logs to see where they did the signing at and what firm was involved with that. So, you have to become a detective and know what you're looking for. Yes, question.
I'm sorry, you're saying that trusts are not recorded?
Trusts are not recorded. No, only the property deed that transfers the real property into the trust. Remember, that's the beauty of a trust. It's private.
Yeah.
Your business is not out there for the National Enquirer, right? It's nobody's business what's in your trust until you die. Once you die, anybody named in the trust and anybody who's your legal heir gets a copy of that trust. So I have a lot of parents that say, oh God, don't share this with anybody. And I'm like, well, when you're dead, it's going to be shared with everybody in your family. And they go, well, wait a minute, then I better not give Junior 30% more than everybody else. That's going to cause issues. I'm like, then you better think about that. Yeah, think about it now. So other questions? All right, well, thank you so much. I would say your best idea is to call the office and talk with Jack, and he'll get you on the calendar. And be sure to tell him that you were from the Realtor seminar, so that he makes a note of that, and then he tries to really work with other professionals to get you in, rather than just Google off the street.
Fantastic class. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're very welcome.
Excellent.
Thank you for having me.
Excellent team meeting. Excellent.
That's our meeting.
So how long ago did your daughter play the
See you next time.
softball?
Thank you,
Your daughter
everybody.
play
for
softball?
coming in.
Yeah.
my daughter.
Thank you all.
I